everybody.
Hey,
welcome.
Welcome. Hey, so glad you guys can join us. You know what? A little different here. We're doing a live stream.
A live stream? I can't take it.
So I think we're going to do something that we've never done on the live stream before. We're going to have Rob do the shouted introduction. So here it comes. I want to say welcome, my many mighty March Mayhem minions, to this, the grand finale of Rattlebot Games' March Mayhem tournament. Oh my goodness, we have got some big results coming at you, and we have also got some big names right here, right now. We have none other than Keith Matejka and Jordan Miller. Woo-hoo! Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, fellas.
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
We couldn't be more happy to have you. And oh my goodness, do we ever need help? Things have been happening. Let me tell you, there is excitement in the streets with this big final matchup. Brendan, we're not just doing one result tonight live on air, though, are we?
No, we're got
two.
We got two.
Why don't you tell my friends what we're doing there, Mr. Brendan, the Professor Riley?
Sure. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Tonight, we are doing two countdowns. The first one will end in roughly 28 minutes, around 6:30 Central. The consolation bout, the third and fourth place finishers in the bracket, the poll on Twitter will come to an end, and we'll find out who wins in the consolation bout. And then an hour later at 7:30 Central, we will end the championship match of the entire bracket. Excuse me for a moment. We have another visitor entering the room, and that's going to be... They're going to come in live. They don't know it.
Oh!
It's Jason Brooks.
Oh,
Jason Brooks.
I know him.
All right. While Jason's coming in, I want to talk about this is a bit of a revelation. It's a personal revelation. At the beginning of this tournament, before a vote was cast, before we had released the bracket even, I made a prediction after we had chosen which 32 games would come through. I made a prediction of which one I thought was going to win. And let me tell you, until we resolved the final bout of the semifinals, I was looking good. But you know what? My choice was EVERDELL. EVERDELL didn't make it to the finals.
Ooh.
So close. Just right to the edge. But that means EVERDELL is up against Lords of Waterdeep to figure out who the second and the third runners-up are going to be. Hey, Jason Brooks has joined us from Brookspun Games. Oh, my goodness. So happy to have you. Hey, Brendan, could you do me a quick favor?
Uh-huh.
I happen to know that you have a few ladies in the house with you, and who knows, maybe you have your own supply, but I would like you to go and just get like an eyeliner pencil and draw in a beard, because you're throwing the balance off, I don't
sorry,
like
guys. Sorry, everybody.
So,
yeah, I'll see if I can find a marker. I got a Sharpie here, a blue Sharpie. Is that gonna... No.
Here,
Great.
if you could just put one of these on.
There you go.
A press-on mustache, that'd be great. Anyway, Jason, we were just talking about in about now. Oh no, what, Brendan? How long?
We're looking at 25 minutes. Yep,
in 25 minutes, we're going to reveal who wins the second and third runner-up positions between EVERDELL and Lords of Waterdeep. And I was saying at the beginning of this whole tournament, before anything had started, I had put my money on EVERDELL, and it's a good thing those stimulus checks came through, because Daddy lost some money on that. Jason, you just joined us, so your penalty is going to be, you're the first person I ask. What do you think? EVERDELL, Waterdeep, give us your thoughts.
Oh, man. I love both those games. I really do. You could ask me to get either one of the table right now, and I would happily play one. But that's probably why they're vying for the top spot, right?
Well, they're just off the top, but yeah.
Or near the top, yeah, in the final four. I think I'm going to go with EVERDELL. only because I think I've gotten in my fair share of Lords of Waterdeep plays, and Everdell still has some of that shine. Haven't explored everything it has to offer yet. So.
You can't you can't count Everdell out. It is still, for a game that came out 2 years ago now. It still has, you're right, that shine, that hotness. Keith, if I said we're gonna play, the five of us gonna sit down and play one of these two games, which one would you choose right now, right in the moment?
I'm definitely a Waterdeep fan. Like, I have not played that game to death, and I know a lot of people have. I mean, there's so many games to play. Like, it's very rare that I get to play anything more than once or twice, to be honest. So, and I just like, I love the slickness of Waterdeep. Everything kind of moves quickly. I mean, and I'm assuming that we're going to have the Skullport in the house at the same time, which definitely expands the things you can do in it. And I love like those old school Euro games like Kalis and those kind of like, I did something and that's my thing. If somebody else uses it, I get to do that thing. So
yeah,
my lawn. So I love that kind of stuff. And I am also a fantasy fan. I would say that Waterdeep is more traditional fantasy than the wonderful artwork in Everdell. But I'm a Waterdeep guy on that particular question.
I'll tell you, my call was Everdell to go all the way. But my heart, I would probably, if I were a voter, which we all know that Brendan and I are not voters. We know that we maintain our strict code of journalistic integrity, that we would never vote. But if I wasn't that so bound, I would probably be there voting for Waterdeep. Of course, the voter at home should do whatever they want. I don't want that to influence you at all. But yeah, Waterdeep, it does so much so well. We've talked about this before. I love, the teach of Waterdeep. We talked about this. On your turn, you put one of your workers on a spot. You do what that says. And then if you can choose to resolve a quest. That's your whole turn. That's all you're doing throughout the game. At the end, you look at the points, figure out where everyone stands, and you're done. Everdell, the teach, I think it's a little higher barrier to entry. What do you think, Jordan?
Well, I'll tell you this story. I'll answer with a story.
I'm gonna sit back.
So many years ago, I played games such as Settlers of Catan with my parents, and I wanted to broaden the horizon. And the first game I went to was Lords of Waterdeep. And I felt like if I can teach my, parents who are not at all into games, if I can teach them this game, anyone can learn this game.
Yeah.
So, and it really holds. It is one of the first games outside of sort of the regular set of introductory games that I've played. So it kind of holds that position in my heart.
An old love is a true love. Brendan, it sounded like you wanted to pipe in with something.
Well,
regardless of whether or not I want to hear it, why don't you go ahead and do that?
That's fair. I think I like Lords of Waterdeep a lot. I will play it anytime somebody wants to set it out on the table. But I mean, if I were voting, and again, journalistic integrity, I did not, I would lean toward Everdell. And here's why. When I play Lords of Waterdeep, it is a very tactical game. Each time I'm taking my turn, I am deciding where to put my piece based on where everyone else has put their workers, especially in like a 5-player game. You really can't count on, getting that spot with the one cleric or whatever building is going to be available. And so that one feels to me very much like responding in the moment to what people are doing and hoping to move forward. And while there's some of that in Everdell, I find myself playing in Everdell a lot more, planning to do a thing and thinking out 3, 4, 5 turns ahead. Okay, this turn I'm going to do this, and that'll get me an extra berry. And the next time I come around, I'm going to use the free action to get this guy, and that'll let me do this. There's a lot more of that chaining of activity, especially in the second half of the game. That is my favorite part of strategy games. The part where my brain explodes because I can't quite figure out how to get the puzzle to lock together, and that's just not a feeling I get from Lords of Waterdeep as much as I would like.
I can't argue with you there, although I'd like to. This is a phrase that this is not going to be the last time it comes up tonight. Engine builder. EVERDELL, we keep talking about EVERDELL because it keeps winning. And we'll see if it keeps that up today. But EVERDELL, you really go from such a humble beginning. Your options are so limited to, at the end, like you're saying, you're just chaining things left, right, and center. It's like you got a flashlight in a room made of mirrors.
Yeah, for sure. Or like when they light up the temple in The Mummy, right? You find the right spot to shine that, and suddenly the whole room is illuminated. I think one of the other things I really like about EVERDELL is the many expansions that they've been bringing out for it, right? There are something like 8 or 9 different playable factions now, which don't really change the game. It just changes what your meeple looks like, but the experience of that has been really fun. And having the different modules that you can add in gives you a little bit of different flavor each time. But then again, I say that having only played the Scoundrels of Skullport like once or twice. So I don't know if anybody out there wants to weigh in on what that expansion brings to the game, but yeah, I'd be happy to hear that.
I'll throw it out to the guests first. All right, I'll take it. So, Lords of Waterdeep, here's, and it's the other side of the coin of what you're talking about here, Brendan, I think. EVERDELL has you, just like we said, ricocheting actions off every frying pan and boulder in your old Western town. But Lords of Waterdeep, there is a clarity of design there that is elegant, that is beautiful, and it's what lets Jordan's folks be able to pick this game up. I know I said earlier in the tournament this year that it's a game that I recently played with my family, and the non-gamers at the table were able to pick it up and enjoy it relatively easily. I think that the expansions, there's only, how old is this game? This game is, oh geez, I don't have that up right now.
I think 2012 was the.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. So it's almost 10 years old, and they've only come out with the one box with 2 expansions. But I think they're showing restraint. I think they're showing maturity. I think they're showing an understanding that sacrificing the elegance of the game on the altar of more money would be doing a disservice to what is really just a gem of a worker placement game. So basically, I don't think EVERDELL has a chance.
That's fair. So speaking of EVERDELL,
yes.
So I would like to ask our guests. EVERDELL has run a gauntlet. It has survived one of the toughest quarters, at least in the top 4 of the bracket, to get to the final. So I was gonna tell you here the games that got defeated to let EVERDELL get here, and see which game our guests would most have liked to see, that you're most surprised or you're sad to see didn't get further. So here's the games that got eliminated in this bracket that allowed EVERDELL to get here. So EVERDELL itself eliminated Twilight Struggle and Twilight Imperium 4. We also lost...
that actually, if I'm going to pause you there, some folks will remember. Yes, EVERDELL is the Twilight killer.
Right.
Keep going.
We also saw Quacks of Quedlinburg get eliminated, Betrayal at House on the Hill, Great Western Trail, The Crew, and Brass Birmingham. So those are all the games that started in the same quartile as EVERDELL, but fell by the wayside as EVERDELL won its game. So I'm curious from our guests, which of those games are you sad to have seen? Maybe which one did you bet the college fund on, or the car? Jason, which of those games are you most sad to see not here today instead of EVERDELL?
Oh, man. Yeah, I figured you might start with me. So I like a lot of those for a lot of very different reasons. I can almost see why EVERDELL is here and those games are not, because I think each of them has a niche audience that they tend to appeal to. Even when you look at the Twilights, right? The big, heavy, all day long game for Twilight Imperium 4 versus Twilight Struggle, that great 2-player historical game. EVERDELL just has a lot more appeal, right? You can get to the table with your folks, but not as easily as Lords of Waterdeep. Of all of those, I think I gotta go with Twilight Imperium 4. That would be the one that
Nice.
From that bunch.
Yeah.
I would like up there, but it would just barely ahead of Brass, Birmingham. Those two, I respect them both greatly, but when I look at this bracket, I think TI4 is the one that likely most deserves to be here.
That's wonderful. That is a great game. Keith Matejka,
Yes, sir.
could you tell us which one is the one that got away for you in this little corner of the
That
bracket?
list has really good games in it, right? I mean, Martin Wallace is my favorite designer, so I mean, Brass is definitely like high up on my personal love list. So that makes me sad to see that one go. I mean, I feel like for whatever reason, like I've never had the Twilight Imperium experience. And that maybe that's a sad thing. I don't know. I don't really feel like I'm missing out on it, but I'm sure some people think I am. Twilight Struggle's a great game. Two-player games are they're a different breed than other games, you know, and they're also they don't, like, the love of those games doesn't spread as fast either, right? So it's like when you play four-player game of EVERDELL, it's like you get one gameplay, exposes it to 4 people, versus like in a 2-player game it's half as many. So like those games that the higher player counts are easier to learn about and then experience and stuff. So, and also there's those games, EVERDELL's the newest, right? So it's kind of benefited from standing on top of the design shoulders of the past. So as tastes and as design evolves, you know, the newer games take advantage of all the things that they've learned from all these other games. So, I mean, Brass in particular has gotten a rework in terms of graphic design and stuff in the last few years. So, I still love that game. I would probably pick it over, anything else on that bracket, but.
Well, and then, it looked for a minute there like the Crew was going to sneak into the finals. It looked like the Crew just, when it took out Brass Birmingham, I had to board up the windows on my house because
people
the
were
reactions.
People were sending angry letters in barrels. It was terrible.
Which, let me tell you, the postage on sending a barrel, they should have just put a lot of letters in there and then sent the whole barrel full. But anyway,
that's how you know they're committed to their anger, when they're willing to pay to mail a barrel.
To mail a barrel.
The name of my band in high school was Committed to Their Anger. Anyway, just some great games there. I know, Brendan, I don't know if you guys saw, I'll let you answer, but he made a rather revealing hand gesture when the name of the game that I suspect he would have seen go all the way here came up. Brendan, what was your pony in this particular?
Well, it's no secret I'm a Brass Birmingham fan. I was actually enthused at Keith's mention of Martin Wallace. Martin Wallace being one of my favorite designers. I've talked about him a lot in the last few years as my favorite designer, although I have to admit, here in public right now, you can listen to my podcast, Pick Up and Deliver, in the next couple months as I make this firm decision. Vladimir Suchy may have taken that mantle from Martin Wallace. As much as I love Martin Wallace's games, boy, the last couple of Vladimir Suchy games, Praga Kaput Regni, despite its difficulty in pronouncing it, Underwater Cities, Last Will is one of my favorite games. It's going to be a bloodbath, a fight in the next couple of months as I really think about, a title that everyone cares about. Who does Brendan call his favorite board game designer? So.
Well, if we're going to be fair, which is something that we have committed to here on Game Fight Show since the beginning in 2017, we should probably talk about the games that fell to Lords of Waterdeep. And, it's another one where there were some jaw droppers there. So it itself, right? Waterdeep started out in one of the, I think, most exciting matches from a sort of, you are comparing apples to apples perspective. It was Viticulture versus Lords of Waterdeep in their first bout.
Oh,
I was
tough right off the
surprised, but thrilled when Waterdeep took that one. Up above them, there was Camel Cup, and last year's winner of the whole thing, Terraforming Mars. I think, was it the upset of the whole tournament?
Oh yeah.
When Camel Cup took out Terraforming Mars.
Nobody saw
in their
that
first
coming.
round bout. I didn't see
Especially
coming.
with the vote split, everyone being confused about what it was called.
A confusion that I intend to continue to cultivate. Then we had in sort of this bottom of the bracket here, we had one of the big stories in the whole bracket playing out as pronouncedly as it has anywhere else. This has really been a tournament where co-op games have been shining. And I'm half surprised that there isn't a single one here as we come to the end. But we had at the beginning, first round bout, Pandemic versus Chronicles of Crime, which Pandemic won. And we had Gloomhaven versus War of the Ring, second edition, which Gloomhaven took home the W on that one.
I was thinking later it would have been first round we don't generally have guests. We like to save the big guns for later on, but it feels like having Keith there, having done all of the design work on Role Player Adventures, it would have been really interesting to talk with him about War of the Ring and Gloomhaven in the context of that same sort of genre of game, I think. Though I know War of the Ring.
Different opinions about those games. For sure.
But maybe we don't want to force you to record that for use later in a board game trial.
As a point of reference, War of the Ring is my favorite game of all time. So
it's such a great game. We're talking about Pandemic and we're talking about War of the Ring. It saddens me that the pandemic has kept me from playing War of the Ring. But then Pandemic came up against Gloomhaven in what we talked about at the time, and I still believe that could be the co-op head-to-head to end all co-op head-to-heads. And Pandemic beat Gloomhaven.
Who would have thought?
Which okay, so those are both co-op games. Which one of them is harder?
Well, it depends. Are you playing that level with all the swamps and the slimes in the swamp, or in the pipes under the city? Anybody who's run through the Gloomhaven campaign will know there's this level where there's all these like imps and they just keep multiplying and you can't do any oozes. They're oozes.
Oozes.
Oh, I hate the oozes so much.
Because my group has never won a single game of Pandemic, or I've never played a game of Pandemic and won.
I would like to challenge you to a cooperative game on your turf. Let's some Monday night do one of the XYZ game streams. We
could play Pandemic. I gotta win
co-op Pandemic, and we'll see. Maybe what we're revealing is something that you learn from time to time. There are games at which we simply are not good.
Rob, if I could share a story. There was a time you and I were playing a game of Last Night on Earth, which is a cooperative game where most of the people are on one team and somebody else is on the other team. And we had one player who decided that their character was a bit of a rogue. So instead of helping the group, their character just like went off on their own with the keys to the truck. And so all the humans died because literally the person who could help the team win left.
They ran off with the MacGuffin.
That wasn't Jordan who was at that game, but I'm wondering if that's how Jordan plays Pandemic. Maybe like Jordan, watch out for, Sydney's got 3 cubes on it. We can't let it outbreak. And he's like, I'm going to Mexico City.
No.
I do love that game because like every time you play that game, you always walk away with a story. It's like one of the most memorable gaming experiences. I don't know. It doesn't get a whole lot of love these days, but I still like it.
Well,
that's one of the
tournaments, it's
beautiful
gotten
things
love,
about
yeah.
the way that we and that's one of the great things. We've talked about this before, and here I am going to talk about it again. We've got 32 of just the most gold-plated, wonderful games that you could hope to have. 6 on the top of the Board Game Geek list.
And
but then we took 8 award winners, and we took eight games that the public, you voting public, list of 8 games that could take on these modern heavy hitters. And lo and behold, 2 of them are still here fighting it out, including none other than Lord. Voting. Have the link to go to Twitter at GameFight
Show. Oh no.
Thank you. We need you to go over there, and you've got literally
we've got just moments left, people. Moments left. The internet does not want us to vote.
I'm gonna have my assistant give me a hand here. 1 second, my friends.
So last chance, Jordan, I don't think we heard from you which game which game from the bracket so far you're most sad to see fall away. Maybe that's the last thing we'll hear while the voters are taking their last chance to run and vote over on Twitter at GameFight Joe.
Well, it's interesting. You just brought up viticulture going head to head with Lords of Waterdeep, which is, those are 2 of my very favorite worker placement games. So I'm kind of sad to see and I don't feel like viticulture gets talked about very much. I try to bring it up, and some people haven't heard of it, but it's really a great game.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those all-time performers. I mean, it's up there. I think it's in the top 50. Although those people who are going to Board Game Geek checking right now, last I looked, something was wrong with the rating systems. You cannot find out which game is first place right now. Last time I looked, I think maybe Board Game Geek has finally recognized the importance of the March Mayhem tournament, and they are waiting to see how things will be rearranged.
It's been wonderful over all these years that we've been running the tournament, the building respect that we've been getting. So yes, I suspect that they are doing this to honor the journalistic integrity with which we operate. They are mirroring us, which is a beautiful thing.
I thought it was interesting to see Scythe go down the way it did.
Scythe
is 14 right now.
I love that game.
Scythe got, you know what though? I can see it because Scythe didn't get taken out by any Camel Cup. No offense to Camel Cup at all. Camel Cup does what it does well. But Scythe came up in their second bout against Spirit Island. And that's just a matter of taste. And that's, once again, it's playing out the story of the co-op game on this bracket.
I think
Scythe got shown the door.
I would say one of the things about Scythe actually suffers something that I in my head call the root problem. It's the root of the problem. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's actually a problem, but I know that there are some people who had this issue with Scythe, and they also had other people who had this issue with root, which is that the art and the idea of the game don't really match the play of the game on a first impression, right? When you look at Scythe, you look at that board, you see that big old mech stomping through the farm fields. You think you're gonna go play a war game with cool mechs. And I mean, I once destroyed somebody by stealing all their resources when they weren't paying attention. But that's not really what Scythe is about very much. And the same way, Root looks very cute, and it's not really a cute game. As fun as it is, and I think a lot of people have played a game they wouldn't have played otherwise if not for that art. But I think maybe that's where Scythe, there's a bit of a miss in terms of the gameplay and the art.
Wonderful point. Brendan, I appreciate you sharing your opinions, even though I generally don't listen.
That's fair.
I think we're going to have to turn this over in a minute. Brendan, will you do the tabulation? I'll hold down the fort because my good gamers, the polls have closed. We're going to have the results in a moment. Now, I want to talk to you about our commitment to ethics and accuracy, and you, the listener, the voter at home. I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars having a custom built supercomputer made. Now, the person who I tasked with doing this is my 13-year-old son. So we'll see what $800,000 buys you in the supercomputer made by a 13-year-old market. May I introduce to you the Rattlebot? The Rattlebot is going to the Rattlebot will provide for us the results to both of the matches today. And I am excited. I'm excited to see that. Let me take a look here. Brendan, are you set on your end?
Yes, I am, Rob.
Okay. Brendan. All right. There. Okay. If you could, let's just see if we can get a result from the Rattlebot. How do I use this thing? Rattlebot, what are the results? Is it like Siri? Oh, wait. We have the results. Anyone have a guess? The winner, third place overall, EVERDELL. You know, what a great campaign they have waged to get here. EVERDELL, I want to congratulate you. I'm sad to see Lords of Waterdeep have to go, but you know what? This is a very old game.
Yeah.
Yes, there is no doubt. Let me try this. Let's see if this is a clap sensitive supercomputer. Rattlebot, retract.
Try snapping your fingers. Oh, there it goes.
Oh, there it goes.
Nice.
All right.
Very nice.
Technology.
Well spent.
Yes, I hope my children won't be upset when they aren't able to have their college paid for.
It was worth it. It was worth it.
Worth it.
Every
I don't
day.
know that he needs it if he can build that.
True enough.
Elon Musk, look out.
So, once again, I thought that EVERDELL was going to go all the way, so I can't say I'm surprised. I also can't say that I'm not a little saddened to see Lords of Waterdeep take that fourth position instead of the third. But, two wonderful games, making it so close to the end. Anyone have any thoughts here?
I mean, like someone else said, a real strong showing for a game that's almost 10 years old. It's one of those games that I always go back to, and it's fun every single time I play it.
Here. Something I'll throw in here, and you can never underestimate the effect of this. We talk about it a lot. It's the PEI, the game with the higher perceived edibility index has clearly won. When you open your box of Lords of Waterdeep, there's nothing in there that you really think is edible, but I wonder if it was the little red berries that took EVERDELL over the top.
I think that's reasonable. If the people who made Lords of Waterdeep, Wizards of the Coast, I think, if they had gone a little bit over and given us metal coins that look like Gelt, the novelty Gelt that had chocolate inside, I think Lords of Waterdeep would be right up there, causing dental problems and winning awards.
Certainly though, if you're talking about components and you're talking about money, you can't leave the conversation. You can't leave Waterdeep out of the conversation. Those wonderful coins with the holes in them.
Like the moon-shaped one.
The moons, yeah.
I'm embarrassed to say that I really hadn't until just now ever thought of going to look into the possibility of purchasing a metal set of those coins. Someone's got to be making those, right?
That's got to be a thing.
The Broken Token has marketed a set of Waterdavian coins that have been on my radar for years.
Because if no one was doing it, I would say we end this Zoom call right now. We fire up the Rattlebot and we just figure out how to get this into production.
One of the other awesome upgrades you can get from them is they have little D&Deeples. So like you can have little small meeples that are the shape of a cleric, and they got a wizard. So I got rid of all those cubes. And it's always been one of my sticking points with that game is that don't call them white ones. They're clerics. Because if you do that, if you don't call them what they're supposed to be called, you're just putting down dudes and picking up cubes.
I have something I'll tell you guys in a moment of deep personal sharing and honesty. I don't really house rule things at all. I play the game by the rules that the designer sent me, that the publisher gave me, that came in the box. One of the very few exceptions is when you're playing Lords of Waterdeep at my house, if you refuse to call the orange cube a fighter when challenged, you have to pay $1 back into from your game wealth back into the supply. So, Jordan, I guess what I'm saying is I don't disagree with you.
Ooh, lightning round. Jason, what is a house rule that you use at your house?
Ooh.
Oh, lightning round. Shoot. Storm cell sounds a couple miles off. What is that house rule in our house? Oh, so many games, so many opportunities, so many possibilities. Come back to me. I can't think of one.
Keith.
Yeah, so we play Hogwarts Battle, the 4-player cooperative game. And like once you get like a certain distance into the game, like the market deck becomes this huge pile of randomness.
Yes.
So we house ruled it so that like we split all the cards it costs between 4 and 2 in this pile, and all the 5 and higher in this pile, and then like shuffled the middle section and stacked the deck. So like there is a chance we might actually be able to defeat those Death Eaters or whatever, because man, sometimes the randomness of that game can just beat you over the head, and that makes it a little bit more manageable.
For sure.
I think I must live under a charmed star, because my whole story with that game, first of all, I happened to stop in a Goodwill store one night, and there, like on top of a rack of clothes, is a box, and I look at it. It's Hogwarts Battle. It's this game. So I bought it for $4, and my wife is not a gamer at all. She's an avowed not a gamer. So
anti-gamer.
So, but over Christmas break 2 years ago, we started playing this, my wife, my 2 children, and I. And darn it, if we didn't play the whole game. So this, my wonderful wife, who was not a gamer, just slogs through this hand builder. And I'll tell you the other thing that, so already I've got finding it for $4. I've got my wife wanting to play it again and again. And then the last thing is we only lost one game, and we didn't house rule anything.
Ridiculous.
So Keith, I think what that really comes down to is what you're talking about. There's luck in that game.
Yeah, we've been stuck on the seven rounds. We've been stuck on round 6 for like 3. We've tried it 3 times now.
It was rough. I think we missed. I think round 4 we very nearly stopped playing. I think we lost 5 times, and then we house ruled that you just get, everybody gets one of 2, their choice of either the thing that lets you roll the die, the house cup book, or the one that lets you remove a dark mark. And after that, we just then it actually felt doable. Still tough, but fun at least.
Our friends from Toggle. There have been a couple of people. That game shows up on the Toggle Facebook a lot. People playing that and showing off. But a lot of times, what they're showing off is Year 7. It's my 12th time playing it. Please release me. So yeah, that's quite a thing.
Jordan,
You know what?
what's your house rule?
Yeah.
So the one rule I can think of is it has to do with Lords of Waterdeep because it's a favorite game. When you complete a quest, if you do not read the flavor text out loud for the entire table to hear, it does not count.
Nice.
I love it. I love it.
We need to know what's happening with those owlbears.
Don't we just? So Jason, I'm gonna call you Brooksy. We're gonna get friendly here. So Brooksy, what
Yes,
you
sir.
got for us? Do you have any
All right.
house rules, or are you just like me? You're a rule lawyer. You play it the way it came.
No, I very much am a rule lawyer. However, I did think of a house rule that we have in place, and it's for games like Time Stories, Seventh Continent, Gloomhaven, maybe even, which is if we're at the end of a 2-3 hour scenario and we're about to die,
Yes.
we might change into cats at that point and find, well, what would have happened if we hadn't? What would have? Because we have learned
Oh yeah.
that it can be painful to go back through and play the exact same scenario for another 2-3 hour period. So that is something that when we do cooperative games, if we don't feel like replaying the entire thing, we might house rule in a little a fairy bringing us back to life.
Well, and this is once again, you know what? We have our guest commentators bringing the heat. That's the real story of this bracket, is the wonderful commentary. I think, Jason, we were talking about the wonderful journey of the co-op game through this year's bracket. I think that the fact that it's harder to play games with each other. Was it our friend Nick who said, I don't want to beat up on my friends?
So,
I think that's really been something, the experience of playing together has we've been in a cooperative place, although I guess, now we've got 2 games left and neither of them are cooperative.
Yeah,
but
I think, Rob, that is one of the big surprises of the tournament in round 4. That up till round 4, going through the quarterfinals, it really looked like we were going to see a couple co-op games in the final, and then they all kind of fell by the wayside as we got into the last round there. So I don't know if maybe the competitive game fans sort of melded together as different competitive games fell by the wayside. There were fewer and fewer places to vote for people who didn't want that co-op experience. But yeah, that was an interesting change as the tournament went along.
If Gwyneth Paltrow had missed her train, this episode, we could have come in today and it could have been The Crew versus Race for the Galaxy, and it could have been Spirit Island against Pandemic. If those last bouts in the quarterfinals had gone differently, and I'm going to tell you, it wouldn't have surprised me to see 3 co-op games here in the quarterfinals. But I'm going to tell you, I think it's time. There are some games that we have to mention here because the final 2 games, there's, unfortunately, I can't say that I'm speechless, because if we all just sat here quietly until the results came out, that would not be good television. So what I'm going to say is, who would have guessed that Race for the Galaxy would be here in the finals? Not I. Now, am I upset? No, I'm also not upset. Wingspan, I can believe that. Wingspan, the story of this game, and let's go ahead and start there. Wingspan, as we've said before, this is a force to be reckoned with. Brendan, what are your thoughts?
Sorry, I had lowered my mic there. I think that you are right. I think that Wingspan is, probably the odds-on favorite. There was an amount of I'm learning watching the delay on the stream that when I edit one of the text bubbles, y'all can see it live. So if you see words moving around, that is Brendan learning about live streaming. I think Wingspan probably the odds-on favorite. There was a big hullabaloo in 2019 when or 2019, right? Wingspan's 2019, right? It's not only a year old. Okay. There was a big hullabaloo in 2019 when Wingspan took all sorts of awards. Both it took like awards in a large number of categories, which reflected, its extreme popularity. So it's really hard not to say this game has the odds going. And on top of it, I think it's really, really good. It's a gentle game, which, thinking about the appeal to the co-op player, this is a game where you don't spend a lot of time really attacking each other. It's a beautiful game. It feels nice. It's got a high PEI index score. All of these things, they make for a fan favorite that's going to be really hard to beat. And talk about a public ambassador for the game, Elizabeth Hargrave out there just tearing it up on Twitter, being a delight and an advocate for all sorts of important issues. And, it's almost a foregone conclusion. I guess if you had set me down with the games at the beginning of the whole bracket, I probably would have put Wingspan there. And I was shocked that it didn't make it further last year. So, I think Wingspan's a no-brainer for the win here.
Whoa. We've got
Mike drop.
Keith calls it as he sees it. That was in fact a mic drop. We've got 3 esteemed publishers of games here with us. It would be ridiculous. We would be remiss were we not to ask about your thoughts about these games from the publisher's perspective. What do you think these 2 publishers have done right or wrong to get these games where they are? I suppose probably less wrong than right, because you probably don't fail your way to the top here.
No.
Let's start with Keith.
Oh, Rob,
Keith.
as we're talking, I just want to let you know that it looks like Andrew Nerger from the R2i Games is popping in, so we'll see him join in. Do continue the conversation. I just want to everybody know what's coming.
Yeah, Keith, do you have any thoughts about what our friends over at Stonemaier Games and Rio Grande
Sure.
have done?
Just from a publisher's perspective, like looking at the 2 games, like the timeline on the release of these 2 games are so different as well, which is kind of tough, right? So like what customers want when Wingspan came out versus what customers want when Race for the Galaxy comes out are very different. I see Race for the Galaxy, I'm like, oh sweet, it's just a box and a bunch of cards. That's like an easy game to make. And we can just print the heck out of this thing and it doesn't matter. But the thing that's been nice is that game has been expanded over time. There's multiple versions. There's like I actually like the New Frontiers board game version of it, which because it adds kind of more visual interest to the game and lets me kind of move things around. I feel more physical when I'm playing it versus like just flipping cards and just remembering the statistics as to what I'm likely to see and all this stuff. And Wingspan comes out, at a time when like people want these pimped out games that have tons of stuff. And the thing that's nice about that game is that it in terms of production, it does a lot of cool stuff. It's got the built-in dice tower that's super thematic, which nobody they didn't have to put that in the box. And for me personally, I think it's more annoying than anything, but other people love it. There's lots of there's a unique artwork on every single one of these cards, and like the fact that like the solo mode is its own little book and it's got its own reference card, and I think it has interior artwork on the box and like all the stuff. Like definitely lots of attention to detail was put into kind of making a deluxe style product, but there's also some smart choices, like putting that dice tower in there didn't cost a lot of money versus the dice are wooden. They could have been plastic, which I would have liked better, but wooden ones are cheaper, but they're also kind of more thematic because it's like a nature game. So like you can kind of get away with doing something cheaper on the dice. So yeah, the productions are both interesting. Jamie's got this thing where he's going to do an expansion for each continent. The Race for the Rail Grande, they did their Jump Drive and their New Frontiers version, plus their multiple expansions. And I think, there was kind of an effort to
Roll for the Galaxy. Don't forget Roll.
Oh yeah, I'm like one of the few people in the world that don't like that version. So
Keith, you and I, we're like this, man.
So like obviously the roll version was very successful. So definitely on the Rio Grande side, it's more of a hit and miss in terms of the expansion of the product. But and we'll see how these expansions continue to keep Wingspan afloat over time. I mean, I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Obviously, we're still talking about it today. But I don't. They're just kind of on two different timelines. I think Race for the Galaxy is closer to sunsetting, but there's still a lot of fans of the game. I'd be curious as to like when the last print run of that game was and what the quantities were. I bet it wasn't 15, 25,000, 50,000 like like Jamie's probably doing a Wingspan still. But I don't know. That's my perspective.
Sure. Well, and I think another great point, Keith, no surprise there. This game, it's one of the oldest games in the bracket. I think Ticket to Ride's a little older. We had Tigris and Euphrates, which is like a grandpa in the field. But let's hear it for Race for the Galaxy for making it all the way here to the bitter end. Speaking of making it here, I couldn't be happier than to be joined by Andrew Nerger of A Road to Infamy Games.
Thank you.
Let's see, of Road to Infamy Games.
I appreciate it. Thank you. No, it's awesome to be here.
So
I'm excited for these games.
I appreciate. I know you're there in the first class lounge at the airport because you're jet setting between different meetings with, artists and production
sure.
and the media. So I appreciate your carving out some time in your evening for us here. So we got the big result that EVERDELL came in to the second runner-up, the third position overall, with Lords of Waterdeep coming in just behind. In what was an incredibly close bout. Don't get it twisted. That was very close.
I believe it. Those games are amazing.
Here we are, not even 37 minutes away from the final results of the whole enchilada. And we've got Race for the Galaxy up against Wingspan. And, what a delightful contrast. What a difficult decision the voter's going to have when they go. Brendan, do you still have the link up or no? We go to @GameFight Show.
I'll put it back up. I revealed the runner up there, so it says
wonderful.
I'll put the link back up.
So Andrew, tell me what do you think about these two big games? We got Wingspan, we've got Race for the Galaxy. Give me the bullet from your perspective on both of these. Each of these games. Go.
Starting with the Race for the Galaxy, the designer's name escapes me right now, but his pedigree
Thomas
is amazing.
Lehman.
Unwitting friend of the show. Unwitting friend of the show.
He is the footprint he's made in the board game design industry and what the ripples it will have will go on for decades. So I think if Race for the Galaxy could absolutely win just based on that. I think that would be totally suiting. Wingspan, another great game. I think the coolest magic about Wingspan is I remember playing it and I saw all this news and people said, "Oh, this is a family game. You can play it with families." And I said, "No way, it's too heavy. We got set collection. We got engine building. This is too much." And But I had to find out for myself. I was like, these people are crazy, but I'll prove it. I'll play it with my mom and my dad, who struggle with my own designs. They're like, so when we played it, and at the end of the game, my mom was like, okay, well, I made this cerulean warble, and I made this, falcon. And what I should have done, that was only 12 points at the end of the day. And what I should have done is I should have made eggs 3 times in a row, because that would have been 13 points. And that also would have gone into this bonus. And I was like, who are you? Like, what? You got all of that? And for some reason, so the magic of just the birds and just the easy understanding of you feed birds, you place birds here, birds are cool. That just like relates to people. And it really, what a gateway game. It got my parents into like a much heavier game than I ever thought they could play. Otherwise, we're playing Hanabi, and I'm telling them over and over again, what can I do on my turn? You can give a clue, you can discard a card, or you can play a card every turn. They'll never get it. But Wingspan, just heightened them. So, I mean, if it won, I'd say, well, that's why it's got that magic.
Well, no doubt. And I think we would be remiss, and I don't like to be remiss. If anyone knows anything about me, it's that Rob does not like to be remiss. We would be remiss in leaving out the fact that this game is the first game ever on the bracket to have an all-female design and art team. We've had all-female art teams, we've had all-female design teams, but never have we had this whole game. When you open that box, you're seeing the output of some incredibly talented women. And like you're saying there, Andrew, they made a complex game that draws people in, and it's also drawn people to the register. As we've talked about, this game has sold more than 750,000 units of the base game.
Whoa.
let alone the expansions. This is just another example of how getting more voices in the hobby, getting more people sitting at the table, it's not only the right thing to do from a cultural perspective, it is also the right thing to do from the bottom line.
There you go.
I think Jamie's probably in the black on whatever he invested in making this game happen. I think he's doing just fine.
Oh, yeah.
So, Jason, we haven't heard from you for a minute here. What are you thinking about this matchup, Wingspan versus Race for the Galaxy? Which way are you falling?
I was looking back over the last week. I did something fun with my kids. I actually laid out about 24 games on the table. And I said, let's pick where we're going to do games all afternoon and evening. You guys pick 2, one big one, one small one, and we'll play those. And what surprised me, there was a very diverse group for them to choose from. The 2 games that they chose were Roll for the Galaxy and On Mars. And what was interesting to me was this is 2 boys and a girl, both picked Space Theme. So when I look at that, I look at Race for the Galaxy and that space theme. I'm like, is there something to that, right? That there's just going to be this constant draw for people to what we can achieve and what we can be in the future. So I reflect on that, and that makes me think Race for the Galaxy has a chance. But then I think of Wingspan, and like Brendan said, I don't see how Wingspan does not win this. The game itself is relatively easy to learn. It's relatively easy to play. I think I may have said this before in one of the earlier episodes. It has the most plays on my personal list over the course of the last 2 years of any game. And a lot of that even is the solo mode. So the fact that it's got this great solo mode is another draw. I believe for it, but it's
even Andrew's parents can learn it. It's
that means anybody. That means anybody can do it.
I mean, even Andrew can play it. So wow,
that's the surprise. That just so exciting. All these games, your points are wonderful. there is an element that we haven't quite discussed yet in the context of this bout. So I'm going to
Rob, just be ready. We got another person coming in.
Okay.
What?
Wonderful
Party.
We're going full Brady Bunch, everyone. All right.
As long as I'm Alice.
All right. Hey, welcome. None other than the one, the only, Paul Booth, joining us here. Now, Paul, I want to thank you so much for joining us, for making time for us, sharing your beautiful visage as well as your beautiful thoughts. Paul is not a designer.
No.
Paul is not a publisher.
Sadly.
Paul is a writer. Paul is someone who has talked. You know what? We're going to take a digression for my digression. If I just stopped by to see what kind of digression my digression was in. Paul, have you in your book, any of your books, written about Race for the Galaxy or talked to Thomas Lehman?
Unfortunately, I have not had the pleasure.
Okay. What about we've got EVERDELL? Did you write anything about EVERDELL in particular, or about James Wilson, or talk to Jimmy W?
I have talked to James Wilson. I interviewed him for the book for Board Games as Media. Yeah.
All right. Share with us. Give us some back alley, the really sticky, dark, dank nugs of board game knowledge that you have gleaned from talking to the designer of one of these two top tier games that are going up against each other for the crown this year.
Gosh, I mean, our 30-minute chat 2 or 3 years ago has really stuck in my memory. I mean, we talked a lot about murder, how to hide bodies. Oh wait, no, that's a different. Sorry, it's a different James Wilson. Sorry. No, honestly, I mean, I could look up our chat. I don't remember off the top of my head anything particularly salacious. We just talked, game design and
you don't even have one salacious crumb.
I don't. I wish I did. I know. I'm sorry. If you'd let me know, I would have researched before I got here and looked up or made up some amazing stories.
Paul, if a student came to you with that response in your class, would you accept it? Come on, man.
I would say thank you for your honesty. I want you for your honesty, good sir.
Paul, you are on notice. Every time we talk on the show, out of the show, if I ambush you in the middle of the night in your bedroom while you're dead asleep, I want you to bring that hot heat. But I know that you're really going to bring it. You are just being modest. All right. I'll let you off the hook here, though. Here's what I want to talk about. And you know what? We only have 26 minutes before we have to fire back up.
So that's a good reminder to anybody out there watching right now. If you, or even our commentators, if you haven't done your due diligence, you can go over to twitter.com and you can vote at GameFight Joe.
Go over to Twitter, vote for Wingspan.
Vote. Follow your heart, friends.
Not that I'm trying to influence anybody, but we all know what's going to happen.
So now back to my other digression from that digression. So we're going to talk about a phenomenon in general, and then we're going to talk about it as it relates to one or both of the games that we're still waiting for the results for here in the final round. We're going to talk about the much talked about PEI, the Perceived Edibility Index. I'm going to have everyone go through and just give me your top PEI game. Don't be afraid if someone else has said yours. Where everyone's input is valid. Anyone want to start? PEI? Keith, take it away.
Through the Desert, 100%.
Oh, you know what, Keith? Just another example of why your input is so great. That is a wonderful option that has been left out of the conversation until you just brought it in. Tell us a little more. I know. Tell us.
I mean, this is like pulling out of the back catalog, I guess. But like, everyone should have done their Reiner Knizia research in their gaming hobby. And Through the Desert has a gazillion of these little camels that look like candy, and you can put little people on them that look like candy. And the whole thing, you just scoop up the board and pour it into your mouth, and it's amazing.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Keith, wonderful. All right, Andrew, what do you think? PEI, what game for your money has the highest perceived and ability index rating?
It's got to be New York Slice. Whole game looks like pizza, and everyone loves pizza.
Good point.
And for my money, it probably tastes like New York pizza. All right.
Fired. Fired.
You're just a rocket ship.
Broadcasting out of Chicago. Chicago.
Paul Booth, what's your number one on your personal PEI index?
Honestly, I know we've talked about this before. I know it's going to come up again. But I'm Wingspan all the way. Those little M&Ms are just they're not even M&Ms.
Yeah.
They're like little Smarties,
Jordan almonds.
Those things, the first thing I want to do is pop them in my mouth.
All right. Jordan and Jason. I'm down to my J's here. One of you, jump in.
I got a good one. It's Honey Buzz by Elf Creek Games.
Ooh.
Oh my Lord. Each time we put that on the table, I feel like I get diabetes just by looking at how sweet and yummy all those little nectar and pollen.
I was just having a separate conversation with somebody about this the other day about how edible Honey Buzz looks.
Oh yes, very much so.
Oh yes.
All right, Jordan, what's your number one? And don't be afraid if you have to repeat one of the ones that we've already heard.
Mine is Century Gollum Edition. It has so many delicious rock candy looking pieces.
Rock candy.
It does look like someone just dropped some rock candy and swept it up.
The first thing I think of when I open that game is that looks delicious.
Well, and it plays that way too. Brendan, do you want to throw your hat in the ring here? For
Honey Buzz is certainly a close contender, but for me, it's the package of Starburst that you get with every box of Azul. Yeah, super tasty.
Yep. And you know what? Here's the thing. So we listed all those games. There's not a game on there that you don't want to play, though, right? These are all top shelf games. The PEI as an indicator of quality is something that I don't think is looked into enough here in the industry.
Do we need to start adding
I got another one.
Deliciousness to our playtesting rubrics?
Yes. Keith, what you got?
There's a game by Thunderworks Games called Hats that has a plastic cookie that's surprisingly realistic looking.
Nice. I would say as a second runner up, the pieces are delightful to look at, but they don't have the Trump loyal feel of art you could eat, but they make you want to eat. That's the Dunstan and Gilbert game, Chocolate Factory, which is all about making chocolate candies. And the pieces, they're like facsimiles of chocolates. They don't quite trick your eye the way that the other examples we've had here. But I never play a game of that without thinking like, I got to go over to Fannie Mae.
So here we are, Race for the Galaxy, coming up against Wingspan. And I've brought you all here today, and I thank you for coming, for answering the call. But I don't even think that there's a conversation to be had. The PEI of Race for the Galaxy it's like 0. Whereas Wingspan, it's got to be in anyone's top 10. It's probably in most people's top 3. And I'm just really curious to see if the PEI has anything to do with the outcome here in the end. I don't know, Brendan, have we gotten anything from the folks talking on the exit polls?
I haven't. There hasn't been much conversation about that, but I did hear a little bit of conversation harkening back to the episode that Keith was on talking about EVERDELL versus Race for the Galaxy. You'll all remember that Race for the Galaxy made its way into the finals by defeating EVERDELL. And Keith brought up the great point that EVERDELL, or Race for the Galaxy, is incredibly portable. And I think that portability, the ability to play Race for the Galaxy with just that deck of cards, that might come into play here too. Like like EVERDELL, Wingspan is a game that spreads out on the table and wants to be enjoyed. Race for the Galaxy, you can bring it with you. You can, it's mobile in a way that, maybe people are starting to leave the house more. Maybe they're vaccinated. They want a game they can take with them.
I personally, when I see that tree, I say, I don't want to set that up.
Same with the dice tower. You think that transfers over?
Well, the dice tower, I don't know. Like you don't keep it assembled in the box, right? You have to assemble every time.
Yeah.
Whereas the dice tower stays assembled. So there's definitely, it's a one-time thing when it comes to Wingspan, and that's more tolerable.
Well, so, there are so many ways in which you can compare these games and talk about how they're different. And that's completely valid. But there are a lot of ways that they're similar. I said that when we were talking about EVERDELL, it wasn't going to be the last time we talked about engine building. And I'm going to make good on my promise here. I think, I'm going to throw it open to anyone, even Brendan, although we all know we don't want to hear what he has to say. Tell me about what you think about either of these games as an engine builder through the lens of engine building.
I mean, Wingspan, no doubt, has an element of engine building. Where you're choosing to put things, the way you're choosing to move through your turns has all that engine building feel to it. And it's kind of cool to see a mechanic like that in a game like Wingspan with such a friendly, approachable theme, introduce such an advanced gaming concept.
I feel like the engine building in Race for the Galaxy is more like you play it and then you're like, oh, I guess I should build an engine next time. Whereas in like Wingspan, you like play one or two birds and you're like, I got an engine working. This is cool. I did want to mention that I thought that story from Jordan was interesting about being able to teach Wingspan to anybody. And like I tried to teach it to my family and it failed miserably. I do think that game is really kind of can pull people out of Gateway into something a little bit bigger. I just think in my experience, not everybody's ready for that.
Sure. Individual results will vary. An interesting thing as we talk about engine building, and Brendan, I heard you trying to talk, but you didn't get there in time.
No, I'm done.
The idea of Race for the Galaxy, it's all predicated on building engines that allow the ships to go faster than light. And really that idea is in fact what the whole game was built on. And I suspect, although I'm going to admit that I haven't played, all the expansions recently enough, you have to have a card where you're building actual engines in the game, right? Right? I think you must.
That's gotta be.
So it's literally an engine builder where you could build an engine. I don't know if that reinforcement is going to help carry the day. I want to take a break from talking about the games that we've got up and before us here for a second, because we have such an incredible sort of brain trust here that I want to take a minute while everyone goes and votes. You go to Twitter, you go to @GameFightShow, and you just register your vote. And then, you're ready to tune in when the Rattlebot comes out and distributes the results. But in the meantime, I want to talk to each and every one of our beloved guests about some of their some of their Rattlebot-like output. Let's start with Paul. Paul, you don't design games. Paul, you don't.
Has anyone else lost Rob?
Yeah, we lost your audio.
Sorry, hit that again, Rob.
That was like a really well-timed practical joke.
I think Brendan hit the censor button right there.
That's right. I muted him. I believe if I anticipated Rob, and I'm sure that I did, he was going to say, "Can you describe how cool Brendan is?"
I was able to hack the Matrix and get my audio back here. And no, in fact, what I wanted is for Paul to tell us what wonderful things he has caused to be published that aren't in fact games, but that could relate to them. Paul, do share.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Well, as you introduced, I'm a professor. I teach and work at DePaul University, and I've written a couple of books and some academic articles, but the books are more interesting about board games and the board game hobby, which I will, despite everything, say something nice about Brendan, and that is that Brendan introduced me, I think, to the world of tabletop gaming. And
do you remember what the first game I made you play was? I don't.
No, I mean, I think I don't think it was like you sat me down and you're like, you have to play Catan. Like I played games before, but you were the first person I played games with regularly.
That's I think we also got to experience. There's a long out of print game called Survival of the Witless, which is about being a professor, and it was made by a person who did not get tenure, and it is so bitter. Like you can hear the bitter story in the back of the game. We played that and got yelled at by hotel security, if I recall.
Yeah, we were laughing so loudly.
Jordan, it's a very appropriate time to be consuming bitter things, right?
Oh yes.
Anyway, so Paul, do share with us the title of your most pertinent and recent book so that the good watcher, the good viewer, I want to say listener, so I came to watcher, but no, you folks, our viewers, tell them what your book is called so they can find it.
Most recent book is called Board Games as Media, and it is available at Amazon.com and all fine booksellers.
There you go. I really suggest seeking it out. As we've discussed, you talk to just about everyone about just about everything. If you have even a passing interest in broadening your understanding of the hobby, it really is. And I hate to once again say a nice thing about anyone who's here, but it's wonderful. You should check it out.
Well, thank you. You're also, I should mention that you're mentioned in it. So you do get an acknowledgement and even a quote or two. So
well, and that only makes it all the harder to recommend. But despite that, I recommend you seeking it out. Jason, tell the good folks about your output, which output questionable, but
tell us about your output.
Well, my output is imminent, which may make that even more ominous. But I am actually publishing my first game. It's coming out this summer. It is called Legacies. You can maybe even see it over my shoulder there.
Mm-hmm.
But successful Kickstarter late 2019. And just about to send everything off to the manufacturer for printing. So
that's so exciting.
It is. It's a big hairy strategy game.
It is, but it's a delight to play. Let me ask you, because I think I know the answer, and I think it might be no. Are people still able to order a copy of your game right now?
They are. The pledge manager is technically closed. However, you can still pre-order a copy because I have not locked that out yet. So
now that's just for Game Fight Show viewers, though, right?
Game Fight Show viewers are the only ones I'm telling about that. Yes.
All right. Exactly. So guys, please don't spread this around. It's hush hush. But really wonderful game. Check it out. You won't be disappointed. Speaking of not being disappointed, let's go over and I could end that sentence with anyone's name. I'm going to say Andrew.
Hey.
Tell us about what has been coming out of R2i of late.
Yes, of late. Our newest title canvas came out right over Rob's shoulder. Beautiful art painting game, and it's done wonders for us. It's really fun. It's a big hit with families. excitingly, we designed an expansion through this COVID, and it hopefully will be on Kickstarter in like 2 weeks. So
Ooh.
yeah, you get the big news leak here first.
All right, folks, go vote and then go right over and warm your Kickstarter up. And I happen to know I have some inside information about Keith and Jordan's life. You're going to have more than one place to visit when you hit Kickstarter in the not too distant future. But yeah, wonderful game, great reviews, great gameplay. It's been a delight for Brendan and I to be able to watch it go from like, I don't know, the first version was like card sleeves and whiteout or something, Sharpies, to this beautiful game. What a treat to be able to watch that unfold.
Canvas is legit.
Thank you so much, guys.
Well, since Jordan's piping up there, why don't you tell us about what XYZ has put out recently, and then go ahead and share a little with us about what you're about to put out.
Yeah, so we just had our retail release date hit for Arch Ravels. So we got 99.99% of all of our Kickstarter backers hit with their copies of Arch Ravels. And now you are able to pick it up from your local game store. Your local game stores are able to hit their distributors up and pick it up. And that's just been super exciting. The response from various retailers has been great. A lot of interest from like board game cafes who want some, pleasant, easy to digest games. So that's been real exciting. And we're getting ready for a Kickstarter coming up in a couple of months for something we're calling Quarks, which is our new line of pocket games. So hopefully we're going to have some art and things.
New Year's Eve, is that the first one coming?
New Year's Eve is the first one. So that one was, we actually released that at PAX Unplugged 2019. But we're integrating that into, that's our first Quarks. We're going to release 2 more, and it's going to be kind of a 3-game pack Kickstarter. So,
and when you say pack,
Nice.
Don't forget to check this out when it lands, because one of the things you can purchase with this is in fact a pack that these existing Quarks and subsequent will fit into. Like if you're an old guy like me, like you used to put your cassettes in so you could throw them in the car. It looks like that. Very nice.
Hey, Jordan, I had a marketing idea for you guys. I don't know if there's anyone else out there who's a diehard fan of the mid-'80s Steve Martin, Daryl Hannah vehicle, Roxanne. But there's a long bit in which they talk about quarks. And so I think y'all should get Daryl Hannah to reenact that. Looks like we lost Andrew Nerger. So I'm gonna have to rearrange the panel. Sorry about that.
No worries. Sadly, Armin Shimmerman is no longer with us to reprise his role from Deep Space Nine as Quark.
I know, so sad.
But while we're all feeling the weight of that loss, we're going to talk to Keith Matejka about some of the great things that Thunderworks has been putting out recently, and some of the things that they've got coming out soon, which I happen to know are A, wonderful, and B, plentiful.
Yeah, so Thunderworks Games, small publisher, we got a handful of stuff coming. Big kind of the tentpole games are Role Player and Cartographers. Stuff coming out in 2021 is the new version of Cartographers called Cartographers Heroes, along with 3 map packs. There's a not huge, but pretty large narrative choose your own adventure style game in which you can import your character from Role Player into in like a Gloomhaven size box. That will hit this year as well, called Role Player Adventures. That'll be in July probably. And then I got some new stuff coming. There's a Kickstarter on May 25th for the expansion for a game called Lockup that has been out for a couple of years and is currently out of print. So it's kind of like a opportunity to kind of get in on the reprinting of the base game and get into the new expansion. And then there's like a little little add-on game that's going to be part of that as well, called Goblin Vaults, which is a small, like traditional style card game, but in narratively, the players are in the prison that lockup takes place in. The prisoners play this game with each other, and you can buy a little copy of it called Goblin Vaults off to the side by
Keith, my FLGS has a copy of Lockup on the shelf. I should go over there, scoop it up, and I'm gonna flip it on eBay for scads of cash.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
just some of that.
you can pick it up and then like
money.
wait for the Kickstarter to start, and then there'll be all these people that want the game right now, and they won't be able to get it.
But in all seriousness, I can tell you, having played every game that you just mentioned, except I guess the game within the game, your sort of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead game. They're all great. I really think if you have any interest in those two tent poles that you mentioned, being cartographers and role player, if you haven't tried Lockup, that's a mistake. You got to check that game out. It is really a really fun, heavily thematic game that I've found to be a delight.
Thanks.
So thank you guys for sharing what you have on the horizon.
Sure.
On the horizon is also us bringing back out the Rattlebot to bring us the results from the final bout.
We're down to the last couple minutes.
Get that Rattlebot.
Get over there.
So, should we bring in Rattlebot? I'll see if I can. Rattlebot, deploy.
There it is. Nice.
There it is.
Quiet.
Oh yeah.
Well,
as we said, $800,000 of R&D.
Well ordered ball bearings.
yes, only the finest American made. Well, so folks, here it is. I mean, you have literally seconds. I have gotten higher scores than you have seconds left. Higher scores in Waterdeep, for example, than you have seconds left to vote. Go do it now at GameFight Show on Twitter. Don't sleep on it.
GameFight Show.
Is it going to be Wingspan?
Yes.
Or is it going to be Race for the Galaxy? All right, we know where Keith stands. Paul, do you have an inkling? Do you have a guess? Are you willing to hazard a guess?
It's undoubtedly going to be Wingspan.
Okay. Jordan.
It's got to be Wingspan.
Jason?
I don't want to be contrarian. I know it's going to be Wingspan. All signs are pointing at it.
Boy, but I'll tell you, there have been, if I had said to you weeks ago, earlier in the game, who's going to win, Terraforming Mars or Camel Cup? Would anyone have said, "Oh, Camel Cup's going to take that hands down"?
No, they would have said Camel Up's hands down.
I've never heard of this Camel Up game. Tell me more.
It's the new version.
Oh, okay. If I don't flog that dead horse at least once per episode, we lose money from some of our sponsors. So, Camel Up, Camel Cup. Anyway, I think I have
Bruno
alarm
Cathala dollars.
I'm just getting Dick Tracy a message on my wristwatch here. Andrew Nerger, the First Class Lounge that he was talking to us from, he got the announcement that it was time for him to board his private jet to go to, I don't know, his next location, Morocco, Curacao, maybe he's going to somewhere on the Amalfi Coast. You jet setting publishers, I can't keep up with you.
Do you know the wingspan of that jet?
That was a good joke. You didn't lay an egg.
If it's less than 100 meters, the vulture can eat it.
Okay. Brendan, have you checked this out?
It looks like the results are coming in. I can see the large Halon collider is sending the readouts toward the Rattlebot. things are looking good.
Here, I'm
going
to turn this off so you can see the lights on the Rattlebot better.
The Rattlebot.
All right, Rattlebot, let's see.
Beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, beep.
Oh, here we have the response. Folks, it's Wingspan.
It's Wingspan.
Whoa!
To the surprise of no one, it is
It
Wingspan.
would be.
How many space dollars did I win?
That's right.
It's not a surprise, but it's a delight. The PEI carries the day, brings the win home to Stonemaier Games. Now, Brendan, I want you to promise the people, you and I are going to just say, regardless of the fact that we are acquainted with Jamie Stegmaier, that did not affect the results. That is why we spent all this money on this computer, so that the objectivity would be beyond question, above reproach. What a wonderful...
So you can guarantee it's not Jamie inside that Rattlebot.
That's right.
There's a person inside the robot?
Well, that's more of a ideological question, Keith. Can you say it's a person, or do you stick to the idea that it's a machine? We'll never know.
I'm gonna retract the Rattlebot. Rattlebot, retract.
Oh no,
oh, guys! If you clap, it's gonna come back in.
Rattlebot, attack!
Destroy all humans.
My understanding is that there's a real chance that Rattlebot will actually be hosting the tournament next year, once the singularity occurs. Anyway, it is no surprise. It is no surprise that Wingspan has won. They won against Cthulhu Death May Die. They won against Just One. They won against Spirit Island. They won against Lords of Waterdeep, and now they've won against Race for the Galaxy. And all of them worthy opponents. But let's talk a little about Race for the Galaxy here. There is no shame in my book in coming in second when you're coming up against Wingspan, especially if you Race for the Galaxy. Anyone have any thoughts about that?
Well, I gotta say, last year's second place finisher was Gloomhaven. It's a high bar to meet to just get to the finals of this tournament. And, Gloomhaven did it last year, being all the rage. Race for the Galaxy, it's a workman-like game, day in, day out, putting in the hours. I think as an inadvertent friend of the show, Tommy Lehman has done an excellent job, and we're hoping next year he will be here cheering on. Maybe Res Arcana. Maybe Res Arcana makes the bracket next year. We'll have to see.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. And if I'm not mistaken, does not having secured this position guarantee Race for the Galaxy a position in next year's competition?
I believe it does get a slot, but we'll have to check with the judges and the voluminous bylaws of the tournament to make sure.
The voluptuous.
Yeah. Voluptuous bylaws?
The voluptuous bylaws? My goodness.
Voluptuous.
The contralescent bylaws.
I will tell you that when Race for the Galaxy was paired off in the seating against Seven Wonders Duel, I thought that was it. So the fact that they made it this far, it is...
Shows how little you know.
Well, just another example, but it's just, such a wonderful story. It's like Rudy here, just making it so far and bringing a smile to your face, just like you get when you win the game. I'll admit sometimes when you're playing the game, you're not smiling because people, you didn't choose what I wanted you to choose, and now we're not going to be selling. And anyway,
well, you know what, Rob? I think there's times when we need pals to help us figure out how to resolve an issue, and so I'm pleased to welcome your friend and mine, Ben Moy, into the conversation here.
Ben Moy, that's my boy.
Oh, you know what? It couldn't be a more time.
I hit the button. He might not have his camera on yet.
Oh my God! Did you delete Ben Moy?
There he comes.
There he is.
All right, here comes Ben Moy, and with him is going to be Smiles. With him is going to be Insight. With him is going to be Genius. What a delight. We'll just see. Ben, I suspect that Brendan has your camera and your sound turned off when you come in. You might need to press some buttons there to turn that around. Ben Moy, Breakdancing Meeples is the game that he has graced the world with. And he has graced our Zoom call with his lovely visage. Ben, welcome. Your timing couldn't be any better. Here we are. We just retracted the Rattlebot, which fed out the results. It was Wingspan versus Race for the Galaxy, and Wingspan took the day. Tell me what you think about Wingspan, our champion of champions.
I don't want to run the conversation too afoul, having just gotten here. That goose egg is just officially been hatched. Congratulations to Wingspan. I thought at first, it was going to be a Race for the Galaxy fighting against, Lords of Waterdeep. But I am very happy that, we see something that's maybe a little less conventional, so to speak, to win. I know, Rob, when you introduced me on, you mentioned that I would be smiling, and I was. And then I saw Keith Matejka here, and now I'm grinning from ear to ear, as you can see. Yeah.
Well, the smiles that
Rattlebot, attack!
The smiles that I was talking about coming when you showed up were the ones on our faces, not on yours. Truly, your moniker, your friend Ben Moy, couldn't be any more accurate. And I think that you're right. Wingspan just couldn't hardly deserve this anymore. This is the first time in the history of Game Fight Show that a game designed by a woman has won. And let me say, it couldn't be more deserved, and I couldn't be any happier. And I hope that all of the players and publishers out there pay attention to this game that I really, it's pretty much, watch this, flown under the radar. No one's ever heard of this one.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
We need a sound effect. Where's Rattlebot with sound effect?
So, Rob, if I could offer a closing question for our panel today, as we're wrapping up the stream, we've got just a few minutes left for people to take a breath and reflect on the victory. I'm curious, thinking about games that have been on the rise in popularity, thinking about games that are coming out. I'd like to hear from our panel. What's a game you'd love to see make some waves in the bracket next year?
If we let you, which don't even tell the judges I said this. Oh my gosh! But if we let each of you choose one game, any game to put out there, what would it be? I'm going to put you in the hot seat, Ben. You just came. Now you have to prove your mettle. One game you could put on the bracket for next year, what would it be?
Ooh, all right. Yeah, no pressure whatsoever. I would say that with the rise of things as they are in the world, we are returning to some state of normalcy. Hopefully, by the same time next year when we do crown a new winner. But I would be interested, in seeing maybe even like a solo game among the best of them. I don't know which ones necessarily myself. I have not adopted too many of those that I can say. A few solo modes, perhaps, but a full-on solo game could be really interesting and really would be, I think the underdog in that way.
I love it. What a great idea. We've certainly got some games with great solo modes, but a game, you think about Friday, right? One of the giants in that field there. That would be an interesting thing to see how that would do on the bracket. Thank you, Ben. Paul, what do you think? Is there something that you'd like to see test its mettle here on the Game Fight Show bracket next year if you had the ability to choose?
I think this might be a bit of a controversial choice, Rob, but a game that I've gotten into and then out of and then into again is Root. And I just think it's a really interesting game. Beautiful artwork. It does some interesting things. There's a good chance it'll flop at the end, but I feel like it's a rich game.
No question there. No one would raise an eyebrow to see Root on the bracket. Brendan, help me out here. I am trying to remember all the way back to when we were forming the bracket this year. Was Root not on here? Because that's the number 27 game overall on Board Game Geek.
Yep.
Did it lose its first round bout last year?
It did. One of the lesser known rules, if you're going to be in the top 16, the 16 that come from the top of the Board Game Geek ranks.
The hot half.
One of the disqualifiers is if you lose your first round match in the previous year, then you have a 1-year suspension where you can't be in that. So that Root did not win its first bout last year, so it was prohibited, or it was not able to get a slot this year. But yeah,
it was relegated
with all those expansions. I'm sure Leader Games is going to be pushing hard to have it in the bracket next year.
I'd be shocked if it wasn't. Sure. Keith, what are you thinking? What's a game you'd like to see come up against these other giants?
Lord of the Rings, Journey in Middle-earth. It's a great game.
It's a great game.
It's right.
You can't see it up there, but it is. It's right up there. I can only show some of the games. Anyway, that would be a great one. Yeah, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Dyed in the wool. I've read them, I think, every year for the last 31 years, probably.
And your wife is getting really tired of you buying a new copy each time. You
you
can reread them, Rob. You don't need a new copy.
But yeah, no, that I would be delighted to see that. Delighted. Jordan.
Yes, sir.
What do you think? What would you throw up there if you could?
Well, one game that I want to make sure you don't sleep on is a 2020 game released by Flat Out Games called Calico.
Oh,
Calico is just a delightful, wonderful, puzzly, comforting game that I think could do very well in the bracket.
I actually think Brendan.
Comforting. I'm going to tell this story again because it is so good. We were playing Calico.
Wait, before you do it, let me just say, we've talked about the PEI, Perceived Edibility Index. Now we're going to talk about one of our other big ones, hate drafting. Brendan, go on.
Calico, I've mentioned this, the people who listen to the entire tournament, this is a repeat story, sorry, but it's so good. Calico is a great game that has the moment toward the end where you need, like Sagrada actually, where you need one thing. In Sagrada you need like a red die that's a 4, right? Or Calico you need an ivy tile that's also purple, right? And we were playing with some family, and one tile came out that a family member was waiting for, my father-in-law, and my wife started to reach for it, and he said, "I will murder you." That game has claws.
And that's the sort of touching familial story, the memory that you want to create when you design a game.
Much like its featured animals, the game is soft and pleasant until it's not.
I would just throw in there for games that sort of provide a different experience than what they seem to be promising. I would say Bob Ross, The Art of Chill. That game's actually, if you're playing that game to win, that is a cutthroat game.
You are not chilling.
I was chilling, and now there's a paintbrush stabbed in my back by the player who drafted what I wanted before me. Maybe a little bit of hate drafting. Trademark. Well, gang.
Well, do we hear from Jason yet?
Oh, no, I don't think we did. He's so quiet. So unassuming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe because I was on mute for a while. Hey. Well, it was funny when Brendan first positioned that question. I was looking at my Kickstarter list of what's supposed to show up this year, right? And I was trying to think about the games that may make a huge splash, like Endless Winter is on my list that I'm expecting to receive. Merchants of the Dark Road, Return of the Dark Tower, like all of those, Frosthaven coming out this year. But if I were to think about a game that I think would be ready and could be ready for next year, it's one that's been out for a couple of years. And I don't recall if I've heard this one in the bracket recently or not, but Rising Sun is one I would be very interested to see how that one fares.
A designer who I was shocked at the limited number of times his name showed up on the bracket this year. I think someone who we're going to see more of next year too. Excellent choices. Brendan, do you want to throw anything in there?
Well, I'm going to say, I would have said Calico, but Jordan took that one. So I'm going to offer a different game. This is a game that's been around for a while. And it's been slowly building in appreciation. About once a month, I'll see somebody post and say in the forums on Board Game Geek and say, how can I get this game again? Because it's been difficult to buy since the beginning, but they just came out with a new expansion and a gigantic box that is bigger than Gloomhaven. This is the Mind Clash worker placement game Anachrony. I think Anachrony is a fantastic game. It is excellent in the base game. The expansions bring all sorts of weird and interesting elements to it. I would love to see how people think about this real treat. I would love to see that game make it on the bracket. And I got to turn around, Rob. You need to tell us a game you'd like to see on the bracket.
I was thinking a little bit about that. I wasn't sure if I was going to answer the question because once again, we hold ourselves to the strictest code of journalistic integrity and impartiality. But I guess here we are on the, in the glow of having just announced Wingspan as the big winner. There are a lot of games I would think about putting in there, but I think the one that I want to see, like, it's not that I think it would definitely win, but a game that I just love and I feel like it's maybe a little underappreciated is Ink and Gold, Diamante. I would love to see that come up.
Oh yeah.
Could Ink and Gold sort of have an arc like the Crew did this year and just surprise you, taking people out? Such a fun game, high player count, quick teach, quick play. And it has, we've actually attributed the Ink and Gold effect to that experience where you're maybe walking by a room and you hear it just explode in excitement and laughter and in pleasure, and you peek in, and what's going on? Folks are playing Ink and Gold. So I would love to see Ink and Gold come up there, even though I'm not at all sure that it would go all the way. But you never know. You never know. Speaking of things I would like to do, right up there with the things I would most like to do is thanking our wonderful guests. I would like to thank Keith and Jordan, who've been here since the cameras turned on today, giving your insights. Thank you. Giving your wonderful thoughts and sharing them with us just the same way that you share your excellent games. Thank you so much. It has made tonight what it is. I'd like to thank Paul and Jason as well. Came in, only putting you in a different category because you came in later. You guys, Paul, bringing us your professorial perspective couldn't be more valuable.
Needed and missing on this
Sure.
Yeah.
Jason putting the pun back in Brookspun Games, but also bringing Mensa level input. And then Ben, who you were able to sneak in here even after the final results, but you did two wonderful things. One, you brought that je ne sais quoi that only a Ben Moy can provide, that brightens up a day and certainly has made a huge difference in today's broadcast. But you also make Brendan feel less bad for not having a beard, because even Andrew Nerger, the usually clean-shaven Andrew Nerger, when he was here, and I thank him for coming, he had a beard.
Thanks, Ben. I really appreciate it.
It falling to the dark side. It's just
Do you want me to shave or something? Or
No, I'm trying to make Brendan feel bad about being clean shaven. You could just end that sentence at trying to make Brendan feel bad.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's fair.
I'm going to say, check out what Road to Infamy is doing. Go check out Paul Booth's book.
Or
Which
Paul's
he
booth,
does
if you
sometimes
are,
sell in a booth. Yeah.
you are so
Does
inclined.
sometimes,
Yeah.
The Paul Booth. Go and get. Is it Atlas Games that makes? That is making. Yep, Ben Moy's wonderful game, Dancin Meeples. Sneak over and just, like Indiana Jones reaching for his hat under the wall that's closing. Get yourself a copy of Jason Brooks's excellent game Legacies, and you got to do two things. One, you got to go buy all of Keith Matejka's Thunderworks games, because there's not a bad one in there.
Yep.
But then you also have to keep your eyes out, because Keith and Jordan and Jason all have stuff coming out on the Kickstarter in the not too distant future that you just have to go and scoop up, because I'm telling you, there are gold-plated winners. And I want to thank Brendan for helping out. It's been wonderful.
And thank you for hosting, Rob.
Great. Oh, it's my pleasure.
We got it. Yeah.
I guess thank Rattlebot for joining us too.
Rattlebot attack. Get a Rattlebot.
Thank you so much.
Got to be in the. It's got to be in the chart. The chart next time.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Somehow we got to incorporate.
Rob, I do want to mention one more.
It's attacking.
I know you would, but probably. I do want to thank Eleanor as well for the excellent reporting on each and every episode of the podcast up until the finale. It was great to have that additional input from her.
No question, no doubt. Thank you to Eleanor. And thank you finally to two groups. One, the excellent creators who made these games possible.
Hear, hear.
And then you, the listener, now the viewer, the voter, for making this this March Mayhem tournament what it was. And
Thanks,
it was
everybody.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks.
Good night,
Bye,
everybody.
gang.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.